Hi guys, let's see, I think the recording has started. Awesome. I'm just going to share screen. Just let me know if you can see the screen.
Hi, yes, we can see the
Okay,
screen.
cool. We
I just
still,
wanted, I
yes,
wanted to
ask.
ask the information that you upload on so where do I find it? Because I'm in the tab DSC163020 S2, but I can't find the podcast because I'm looking specifically for the presentation that you say that you've uploaded before the time.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, so let me quickly, let me quickly log into and then you guys just quickly tell me if you see my intranet opening. So do you see my internet website or not?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, so let me quickly show you where I go, because you need to nearly go to the Western Cape workspace, but let me show you, then it's easier. And then I will also see if it is actually there. Okay, why didn't that now? Okay. So under my modules, and you can also search for that, there will be a Western Cape region. So you can just add it to your, so let's quickly check if, you see, so because I've already added it, but say now you have it, then it gives you all the options, and under tutorial classes, it will take you to this view. And then if you just go, and this is normally where it shows our sessions as well. So via this Western Cape region portal, you can also access the sessions and the notes. But at the bottom, there's also the classes that are at the moment running. So if you then click on the DSC 1630 recordings and resources, if you open it, it's supposed to be there. So if it's not, then okay, so the recording there, the last four, I just want to see now. It's supposed to be under the class notes. And it can be, I mean, I'm just wondering, I see you logged in as guest. That may be because of that. Oh, it hasn't been uploaded here. Could you access the previous sessions or not? The
No,
slides?
No, because I was looking under the DSC tab. I didn't know that we had to go under the Western Cape tab. So I am there at the moment. I'm just trying to see if I can see what you are seeing.
So I'm quickly
Yes,
actually, I guess I'm actually going to upload. See, so the DSC tab is if there will be, do you have online tutors as well?
it says so, but I've tried reaching out to people, but nobody's answering me on the emails that was given in the tutorial. Uh,
Yeah, I see. So so what the DSC that you will probably see is there for where your study material will be on and those kind of things.
yes,
And it is probably what is it, DSC 1630 semester 2 S2.
yes,
So all your study material that the lecturer will put on there, with the assignment and any notes and things like that. Where this portal through the Western Cape site is more the things that I will put on there.
okay.
Um,
Thank you.
and and when you are, if there are online tutors, then it will be the DSC 1630 semester 2, and then it's normally E1, E2 to say that it's E-tutor group 1 or E-tutor group 2 or 3 or 4, like that. And I think that is where some of the confusion does come in. Okay, so now you are able to see sessions 4 and 5 that I have uploaded as well. So I will just make sure in so basically, and it is being recorded, so that is actually quite cool. So go to the Western Cape region, just for the guys that are joining now, and you will see. So let's just go out again to my modules, but we'll just quickly go into it again. Western Cape region. Okay, so it remembers me now, but go to the TAC classes. So you can actually see the schedule for the week, but also what other subjects are part of the TAT classes. And then under your DSC 1630, you will have the recordings and other resources. And this is basically the things that I am involved with. So also, if there's anything from the lecture, it will not be put here, but on that original DSC tab. Okay, happiness. I think that was quite, and let me just quickly go in here for some of the guys that have joined. So you will see all the recordings here. So by Friday or sometime, today's one will be loaded. And then if you go under resources and you open for class notes, the regional presentations I have loaded up as well. Okay, I thought I did upload the other two, but obviously between all the things it did not happen, but now it is there. Okay, cool. We still a small group, so please, if as we go along, please ask. I am going to try and see if I can quickly put these two things in as well for you, just to register or sign the attendance. Let's see if this time it works. It looks like some of it might work. Okay, and I assume all of you are still on the WhatsApp group. If not, And for guys that are watching the videos, please let me know if I need to add you to the WhatsApp group. The number is still 083-790-8387. And gladly add you to the WhatsApp group. Okay, so today's session, session 5, and also you'll see that on this table we end off with session 7, but that's just the formal work area. So that is today chapter 6, next week chapter 7, week after that chapter 8, and then we basically went through all the chapter work, but we still I will make sure that we basically continue with these sessions up until you write exam. So don't worry, and it's also fine if we go over the UNISA time. I don't mind spending a session or two extra for you guys, that we can just work through some of the exam papers and things like that as well, so that we can just prepare you for that. Okay, so in this week's session, and I think again gonna use the calculator, but also show some of the calculations or the formulas, and I will also show you one or two of the formulas that I think it's nearly critical from I want to say one of those definition kind of questions, because again we know that they like to ask one or two definition kind of questions, and because now more online open book, it won't be a definition question like in the old days where it's nearly putting sentences together. So they like to ask the question normally, and I think it was in one of the assignments as well. They give you a formula and nearly you need to work a bit with that formula to get to one of the options. So I'll just show you two of the formulas that I think is quite important, and sometimes one misses the link between these two formulas. But I'll show you when we get there. So basically we're looking at the evaluation of cash flows, and in this chapter we're going to look at a few methods. So we're talking about the average rate of return method, the internal rate of return method, the net present value method, and the modified internal rate of return method, or the MER, how I like to call it. And in the exam, they can ask you any one of that as standalone questions. They can nearly ask you to evaluate a an example or a set of information and say which one will be best to use. So there is a few ways that they can ask it. But let's go again. There is information for you as normal from the study guide. So again, just to always give you the whole picture. But I nearly want to start again with some of the examples that they give you, and for me always I think this one is the more easier one, the average rate of return. So basically what we are doing with the average rate of return is to say we look at the total, we get the average for that total, and then we compare the two. I think this one is normally the easiest, but I think what we also must be careful about here is this one was easy to say the average. Well, we see straight through the average is 2000, because all of them are 2000. So then to to work out the average rate of return would have been 2,000 divided by that total investment, which is the 20,000. So for this one, it is a bit simpler because we've seen all of them are 2,000. With this one, you see it's 1,000, 1, 5, 1, 5, 2, 2.5, 3.5. So we can't just look at that and say the average is. So we first need to calculate the average. So we know there's 8 periods. So the 14,000 divided by 8 will give me my average that I will work with. So the 14,000 divided by 8 gives me 1,750. And now we can say, okay, but that 1,750 divided by the total investment of 16,000 to give me a rate. So I think that is just, it looks simple, but again, it is nearly realizing that here the average was part of nearly the solution. Here you still need to work it out. And then it's difficult in these questions if it's multiple choice to nearly, so they can ask you, if I look at this, say in a multiple choice format, it could have said, well, I am selecting proposal A because it is 10%. I'm selecting proposal A because it's 10.9%. I'm selecting proposal B because it's 10%. I'm selecting proposal B because it's 10.9%. So they can ask it in such a way. They could also say, well, and I think this is also important, if they make a note and they said, well, this company wants to make sure that it grows its investments at 11%. And then if a company wants to grow its investments at 11%, basically for both of these options, they would not accept it because it is smaller. So that means if they can get 11% elsewhere, why would they invest in proposal A or B if it's going to make them less? Please not do any updates now. Typical, so please no. If my computer goes off, let me just, sorry, I just want to make sure that no updates happen now. Okay, so let's hope nothing, let me get that reminder again later tonight. Okay, so that's basically the first one, is the average rate of return. Are you guys happy with that, how that is formulated and how that is calculated? I can't remember if there was in one of your assignments the average rate of return. Okay, so if you're happy, we can just go on to the next one. Okay, so let's go on to the next one, and the next one is the internal rate of return. Yes, there's definitions and everything again linked to that, but nearly let's look at the formula for that, and I think that is also important nearly, and I really want to, let's quickly, while I'm busy with this, nearly that for me is important so that you guys okay. So just that it's sometimes missed in the text if we don't look at the formula. So with this one, very important, the formula that you get and how you can calculate basically the interest rate. Also, I tested this on the calculator, and then you can use on the calculator as well. So let me just I just want to check if this one was the one that I tried on the calculator. Else this is still the... Now we'll check it again if this one was, but for now we use the formula for that, and the formula basically, again, I think you guys will get a formula page beforehand with instructions for the exam as well. If you don't, I'll still set up that formula page for you, that you know nearly which formulas to use where. But for the internal rate of return, that is basically the value that you will be the 16,500 that you will get in 4 years' time. The investment that you made at the beginning is for 10,000. So you will see sometimes they put it as the 16,500 over 10,000. Sometimes they already take away some of the zeros to make it 165 over 100. Just, it depends on which book you're using or which method they're showing, because sometimes they already go make it the simplest without you even seeing that it is one of the simpler forms. And then basically remember with this formula, so they tell us it is in 4 years' time. So that is your n is equal to 4. So in this formula, it is the 1 over 4. And then if we get that answer, remember, again, you need to multiply it by the 100 to get to the percentage. So again, it can be that they say, well, for me to accept this investment, the company wants an internal rate of return of 14%. Or it can be the other way around, that they're saying, well, we want 13%, so if it's more than that, we will accept it. So again, just make sure how the question basically read in the end. I just quickly want to check again if I did everything right. So I just tested it on my calculator as well. So if you set present value is equal to minus 10,000, it is 1 time per year for 4 years. Your interest rate you're going to calculate, and your future value is equal to 16,500. Remember just to make the PMT that there's no other information in there. And then if you click on the interest rate, it's supposed to give you the 13.3%. So let me just try it again on my side. Yes. So again, I think that is just again important to note that you can use it, the calculator for this calculation as well. Do you have questions? Oh, cool. I see. Thanks for that. The formula, which formulas to use. Okay, that's awesome. So under the additional resources on one of the tabs, they have a nice. I'll share it on a group as well if you haven't seen it under the additional resources. There's a nice document of which formulas to use in which instances. I like that because that you nearly can. I would want you to print that nearly if you can, and see if you can write on that as we go along, and when we start practicing or go through some of the exam papers, nearly we'll write a few things onto that to give you as well. Nearly can recognize. But thanks. I'll share that later with you as well. Colin, thanks.
You're
If I
welcome.
pronounced it right.
Yes, you did.
Okay, cool. So with this exercise, you could use the calculator as well. You could use the formula. So just depending on what you are comfortable with using, use that. Are you guys happy until this point? So basically, we've done the intern and we've done the average rate of return. What is for me important, and we've seen here the internal rate of return, and I've marked the C there. So this is still part of it, but I've marked the C there as well so that you just see it. Sorry for that. And then later on, when we look at MER, there's also a C there. So it can be that they nearly, as I said at the beginning, one of those formulas can be nearly a combination of that one with the other one where you nearly need to prove something that looks like something else. So I just want to point this out. So for me, and I'll write something for you on that and take a pic of it, because it can be that they say, write this in the format of the MER. So then you nearly need to put, and I'm now jumping between the things, but when you nearly put something like that, the C you take to one side, the rest you take to the other side, and you replace the C in that MER calculation. So, but I'll write something for you just to show if there's something weird coming up. Was there in any of the assignments, any of those formulas that you needed nearly to, not to prove, but they showed you a formula and you need to say which one is one of the formulas if you need to simplify it or to write it in a different format? I can't remember if there was. I've seen in one or two of the exams there definitely is those things. So So that's why I'm just worried about that. But if you guys haven't seen it in the assignment, I'll show you one of that. Okay, again, internal rate of return. So again, for me, you can use the formula, but you can also use your calculator. So in this instance, so let's see what they are asking us. Let's just an investment of 54,000. So that is the investment that you are making. So that's your present value. Returns a cash flow of 9,500 for 8 years. So your PMT, what you are getting per year is 9,500. I'm just putting, you can put the negative in front of anyone just so that the calculator picks that up. Doesn't matter which one. If you don't use it, also not a problem. It can just be that your interest rate might be negative. That would be an interesting one to test now. Your N is equal to 8 and it is still 1 time per year. So if you actually put that into your calculator, you will and just remember, so that is your present value. I just always like to make sure that there's not anything in my calculator's memory for the okay, so did you guys also then get the interest rate of 8.3%?
Yes, I got that.
Okay. Did you do that? Would you have done that originally as well, or would you have gone with a formula?
I would have gone with the formula, but now that you've shown us this way is much easier and also more accurate.
Yeah. Okay. So happy that. So and I think that is nearly what I want to show is both ways. So with whichever one you're comfortable with, go with that. Um, Later on, when we get to the other two, or maybe even I'll show you another way that we use the calculator for, and that is where you put in the installments nearly. But for this one, I thought it's also just nice that you have the other method nearly that you can check it even in the exam if one is always pressed for time. So with the ones that are then easier to do, use the calculator. Any questions thus far? Okay, happiness then, I hope. um, so the next one, and for me it's interesting. So for the average rate of return, it's basically there's one method of doing it. But if you look at the internal rate of return, so here we had nearly a present value, a future value. We didn't need the payment per month or per year, and we could work out the interest. Then we had one where we had a monthly return or cash flow that you're getting from an investment that you made, and we needed to see what is the internal rate of return. So again, it's nearly, so what is the next thing that they can ask you? So the next thing that they can ask you is, you're making an investment, and you're getting a number of payments out of that. And with this one, the payments differ. So the previous one was the same amount will be paid in 8 years, over 8 years time every year. This one, you're making investment of 320,000, and after year 1 you're getting 80,000 back. After year 10 or 2 you get 1,000 back. So they basically again wants to ask you to work out what is the internal rate of return. So again, here, two ways of doing it. To use the normal present value, future value will not work, because you have different amounts of payments that you are getting. So you can use the formula. So no problem in using the formula. I think that is nearly, it's just to remember, I think, that every time for every year that you add, you need to remember, so that one was 1, then it is for year 2, it will be 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth. And that amount that you are getting, you will need to then say, let's subtract the 320,000, you will get a value, and that value now you need to divide by the 3,200 again to see if you actually have made an investment, or if you have made a loss or a profit. So the other way of doing it is, and now I'm looking at my calculator, the HP, so I'm hoping Jobs and the cashier also have, on my calculator, I've got a function called SFJ. So I don't know if you also have that function on your calculator, or what it's called. So let me quickly, what other calculators do we have at the moment of everybody that is on this chat?
I have a Sharp EL738F.
LEL7. Do you have the SF function on your calculator? It can be called something different as well, so I just want to make sure.
I have a cache. I have a CFI function and a cache one, but I
Do
don't
you
see that function.
have a IRR function?
No.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I'm quickly. Okay, now how am I gonna get it onto the? Okay, I'm gonna take a pic. I just want to see how am I going to. And the other two people on the group also sharp, or what? What calculators do you have?
I got sharp, but I don't have it here with me. That's why I'm silent all along.
Okay, no, don't worry. It's quickly. I just want to see if I can add something in the chat from my cell phone. Let me quickly see. Always interesting working with a technology. Okay. Okay. So what I attach and send. Let's see if it's going through on the chat. Let's hope so. Because I'm also looking, do you have a NPV somewhere on the calculator? Okay, so let's see if I can make that. Okay, can you guys see the image of a calculator now on the?
I can see the images.
Okay. So I've got in this function, the CFJ function, there's the NPV function as extra, there's a IRR function. So with those ones, I can actually calculate. So just let me know the calculator again. You said Sharp EL738.
Yes, and there's an F at the end.
Okay. I will just Google it and see if there's not, and maybe it's one of the other functions, the financial functions that you need to go into. So I'll just check for you, because what I
Yours one has got CFJ, and the Sharp one has got CFI, which is also for cash, I think.
okay, cool. Okay, awesome. So there's a CFI. Okay. Okay, awesome. So can all of you see that on the calculator that you guys have? So on my side, then how I can do it with my function is that the first one I would say minus 320,000 CFJ. So if I do that, and the negative is important because the negative is saying I am putting that much of money into this investment. So I am actually paying it, so it needs to be negative. So then it will tell me that in my cash flow, that is point 0. So it will tell me that was cash flow point 0. Then I just follow the process to say the next one, I would just say 80,000, and I will press CFJ again, and it will tell me it was CF1. Then I'll do 110,000 CFJ again. It will tell me CF2. Then I'll do 120,000 CFJ. It will tell me CF3. I'll do 90,000 CFJ. It will tell me CF4. And the last one is 70,000 CFJ, and it will tell me CF5. So basically, I can put all of those as cash flows into my calculator, and then it is as easy as saying again on my calculator, second function to get to the R, and it will work it out as the 14.7%. So it's actually already a built-in function within the calculator. So if you just set from CF1 to CF5 and you put in the values, and then you look where your IRR button is, it is supposed to give you the 14.7%. So again, just a way that you can use the calculator and not using the long method. So I'm going to check if I can get a how-to on this somewhere as well. But if you can play around on your calculator as well and check this out. So again, I rather want that one uses the calculator nearly than the or the formula. Again, it is just so much easier to do it with a calculator.
Yeah, I think the difference between your calculator and ours is yours. When you punch it, it says CFSJ1, but ours says data. I think it's data when you press CF.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Okay,
data
cool.
1, data 2, up to wherever you're going.
Okay, awesome. Okay, because that's the data flow. So awesome. Okay, so there is then that function, just a bit different how it is nearly phrased on the calculator. Could you also, the guys that tried it now, could you also get to the internal rate of return?
No, I used my mind, but what I did, I forgot it in the start.
Okay, no, it's fine.
So that's why I'm not using it now.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it can be used. So I think that is important. And another way, just to see how it can be done, instead of going the longer route of the formula. Okay, so we've done now the average rate, we've done the internal rate. So the next one is the net present value. And again, you can use the formula or you can use the calculator. And again, I think this is important. First, always clear the memory, because if you now start to put in these values, it will just go on. So if you now put in 800 minus 800,000 into the formula, it tells me I'm putting in data point 6. So I think, again, just very important, clear your memory after you've done the previous question. And then with this one, it is exactly the same process. So the first CF point, because again, it is money that I put in, it will be the minus 800. Minus 800,000. Then again, you will have from your first data input to your, again, 5 data inputs. So you do that. Then there's a bit of a change here. So you don't press internal rate of return or anything. You can put in the K, so they're talking about the K as a percentage. So in our normal function where it was the present value, future values, and those kind of things, you can put in the 8% there, and then you press the net present value. And then you are supposed, for the 8%, get this as a net present value. Then don't clear anything. Instead of that 8, you just then use 9% as your interest rate. Press net present value again, and you are supposed to get that number. So I'm going to quickly do it on my side, just to just to test it again. So I will go for minus 800,000 and input it. Then I would say 100,000. It will be my first data point. 160,000 will be my second data point. The 220,000 will be my third data point. 280,000 is my fourth data point. 300,000 is my fifth data point. Then I will say 8% is my interest per year. And then if I say on my functions, again, I need to press second function to get to the MPV. But if I do that, I get the 14393.2. So I get that. As I have that, I will just change one thing, and I will change my interest rate to 9%. And again, if I then say second function NPV, I get the minus 10,369. The important thing here as well, and it can be, this is very nice. The years are year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. If there is a year that maybe don't have a payment, so if there wasn't a 280 payment in year 4, what you need to remember, if you use the calculator, make sure then that your year 4, you put in a 0. Otherwise, it will not see it as 4 years or 5 years, it will see it as 4 years, and it will mess up your calculation. The same if you use the formula, if there is no rand value for year 4, this needs to be 0, so that in the end will be 0. But remember, then your next one is year 5, and that you don't use year 4. I think that is the important thing out of this, is in the exam it won't be as nicely as this is year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. It can be that they even start with year 1 as 0. Just remember then that you need to put 0 next to year 1. The same if it was year, that you remember that year 2, you must not make it year 1. It stays year 2. Otherwise, your whole calculation will be wrong. Okay. I'm just taking that out. So as for guys, we'll still see it, but that we don't now make it more difficult for you remember when you go through it again. Okay, so again, much simpler, much easier using the calculator instead of a calculation. So let's get a quick check-in with everyone. Happy with this in the assignment? How was it for you as well? Was it a bit more difficult? Is it a bit more clearer now? I think it's important. I just want to get nearly a check-in with you on this.
The method you're showing us now seems very simpler, but I can't do it on my calculator yet, so I need to figure out how to use this function. But the methods that you are showing us throughout these sessions is very helpful.
Okay, cool. So I will also just Google, and I think we can also on the group ask if somebody can show maybe some pics of how they did it with a sharp. I think that is nearly important, because it is so much simpler with a calculator, especially if you are pressured in the exam. And in the exam too, it's very easy to make a mistake with any of these. use formulas, especially if it's only one or two calculations, then it's not a problem. But if it's a long calculation, I always want to nearly stay away from the formulas, because it just makes, I know for myself as well, it's much easier to do it with a calculator. But I'll also see if I can get some, even that there's not under the additional resources some of the calculator work. If not, it's fine. I will also just check if I can't.
Under the additional resources, you find there is a video where you can actually they work on examples, and you can see which numbers, which buttons to punch when you working on that. And also there is another sheet, formula sheet, which is there. If someone closely look at, and it helps on explanations on what you need to do when you are in a.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so maybe I know that Colin, you basically shared the formula sheet. See if you can share the video is probably too big, but if you can share I'll share as we now speak. I'll share the formula page on the group. So don't be, but you can check if you can share that video on the group, because that will be nice to nearly have that in the group discussion as well. And please, I don't have an issue if you share those kind of things in the group. I think it is, it assists everybody, so it will actually be quite cool. Because I know there was somewhere something like that I've seen. I just can't remember where these things. So yeah, and the new members on the group today, I'll add you to the WhatsApp group later after the session as well. So I'll add you definitely after the session to the group as well, and then share some of the info again. Okay, so that nearly takes me into the next example, and again it is, if you use the calculator, much simpler. So you have the original investment. So again, that will be your CF0, and remember the negative. Then after year 1, you will have the 85,000. After year 2, the 65,000. Do they tell us? So they tell us the cost of capital. So you can use the 12% as your interest rate. So let me just, according to my calculator, CF1 will be 85,000. CF2 will be 65,000. The normal interest rate will be 12%. And then it normally will ask you the net present value. And then you can just, on the calculate, press net present value, and it will give you the 27,710. So for proposal A, that is the net present value. Then if you do it for proposal B, exactly the same. Just remember, clear everything again. Otherwise, it will just continue with CF3. So clear. So then again, we start with the original one is 120,000. CF1, CF2, both are 90, so that maybe we could have done something different there, but let's keep the process the same. So the 90,000 for both of them. And then for proposal 2, we get a net present value of 52,105. So nearly instantaneously you want to say, well, the 32,000 is more than the 27,000. So I would want the net present value of the cash flows that's the most. Remember that in proposal 2, you actually gave more into the investment. You gave 120,000, where in investment A, you only gave 100,000. So by using the net present value, you don't really get, because it's two different investments that you started off with, you don't really get the right answer, if I can put it that way. So you need to look at what they call here nearly the profitability index. So the profitability index is going to look at going back to that 100,000 and to say, well, on that 100,000, on which investment or which proposal was the best. So basically, how the profitability index work is to say, what was your investment? It was 100,000. What was your net present value? So what was that extra that you made? It was 27,710. And just to calculate it, let's divide it by the. So I'm gonna let's just use the black, then it is easier to see. So you need to divide it by the original amount. Then you will see it is the profitability index is 1.277. So it's still bigger than 1, so you're making profit, so that is great. But let's look at the other one. So your investment was 120,000. You made a net present value of 32,105. So remember, your investment that you need to divide by is 120,000. So now you see your profitability index is 1.267 or 1.268, which is a bit smaller than the other one. So you are making a bigger profit with proposal A than with proposal B. So again, if this was in an exam point of view, they would ask you which one to choose according to the profitability index, and then you would go for proposal A. So if I ask you, choose the one that has the biggest net present value, it is this one. If I ask you on which one is according to the profitability index, it is this one. So again, depending on what they're asking you, you can actually have different answers. So I think this is just, again, important to note what they are asking. If they're asking net present value, again, it will be very easy to work that out even with your calculator. It would have been interesting to see if I just want to try something on my calculator. So I don't want to say yet what I'm doing if it doesn't work. Okay, no, I'm not. No, okay, cool. Don't worry. I tried something, so there's no shortcut yet to work this out with the calculator. So you still need, for the probability index, you still need to use this process. So that formula becomes very important from the probability index point of view. Okay, so let's check the next one. So here they basically, again, this is just for nearly for yourself to see the different things. So if we're talking about internal rate of return, net present value, profitability index, and the decision you need to make. So this is again more definition kind of, and also maybe something to remember that can be somewhere in the exam. So it can be that they talk it as a definition nearly. So let's need to see if I can. Okay, cool. Just one. So from the internal rate compared to net present value compared to the profitability index, it can be part of a kind of definition if I want to. So I think this is just again important for concepts that you need to understand. Okay, the last one in this range of methods to analyze your rate of returns and those kind of things is I call it MER. I don't even know if that is a name that can be used, but the modified internal rate of return. And again, this one you need to use the formula. There's no nearly way to do it on another way. You need to use the formula for this one. So what is very interesting with this one is, so you can see the different years of cash flow. It will be very interesting to see if one can calculate the net present value of that and use it as something. Let me quickly check for you, because the process of this, and let's move it around. So that is the first thing that we need to do. Then that is the second thing that we need to do, and that is the third step. So the first thing we need to do is work out what is your present value. So that's the piece there. I just want to quickly check if I can use the net present value functions for this. I don't think so. But maybe I just want to check. Maybe we can have a nice solution for you and not use all the otherwise we need to use the long method, and then one can easily make a mistake. So let me just check. sure it feels already if I punched in a wrong number. So let's, okay. So that is my periods. Assuming that you can borrow funds at 16% per annum. So that will be my interest rate. So let's see if I can get a present value out of that. Okay, no, unfortunately not. Okay, so there's no, let me just one more. Okay, unfortunately not. So I must check if a calculator can do it. I couldn't do it now. So unfortunately we need to follow the process. So wait, I'm gonna try it one more time. Because what the MER does, and I think that is also important. So that is the positive flows. Because I now did the whole thing, and that is the negative flows. So you see that, so the out is the negative flows. So basically what is important, let's see where's the negative flows. Okay, so it is the 780, then the 80, but if we times it with the normal interest rate calculation that we normally do, it's the -1 because that is sitting there. That is the 16%, so that is the 80, and then the other negative was the 180, period 4, so it's -4, and then you get a value of 928.38, so that will be the one that is the outflows. Then we also need to look at the positive flows, so and just look at, and the positive flows is inflows, and those inflows you're getting at 19% per year. So now basically we need to, so the 300,000, remember you're getting interest on that of 19%. That 4 is basically saying the 6 minus the 2. So there is 4 years left. So if you look at the 350, it will be the 6 minus the 3 because there's 3 years left for that 500 or 350. If you look at the 600, 6 minus 5, so it will be 1 year. So there is normally a 1, you don't need to show it. And then the last year, 6 minus 6, it's 0, so it's only the 650. So then you will get a positive value, your future value of a positive cash flows. So then basically from the formula, it is the future positive flows divided by the negative flows to the power of 1 over n. It was 6 years, and then the rest of the formula is basically that answer that you get -1. And that basically is the calculation of the MER. I'll check if there's a way to do this on the calculator, but I don't think so. I just maybe want to play around with it, but it's not an easy one to, I think, to do with a calculator. That's why. Yeah, there's no real easy way of doing this with a calculator. So let's quickly see. So 760 for the first one, 80 for the second one, the third, second one 0, third one 0, 180 for the fourth one, the fifth one 0, the sixth one 0, interest rate of 16%, net present value 928.4. Okay, cool. Okay, wait, there is a way. Okay, awesome. So again, calculator time. This was actually quite cool. So for CF0, and here you can, because you're working the net present value, you don't need to put in negative. The first one is 760 for 1 and 2 and 3. Those will all be 0. For CF4, you will have a 180, and then for CF5 and 6, it will be 0 again. Use your interest rate of 16%, and then if you press to get the net present value, you will actually get 928.4. I just rounded it off to 1 decimal, but if you round it off to 2 decimals, you will get it as well. Then I would clear function, and then it is to start with a rest. So when it is 0 for the first one, 0 for the second one, 300 for the, okay, so 0 for, let's just write it down here. CF0 will be 0. CF1 will be 0. CF2 will be 300. CF3 will be 350. CF4 will be 0. CF5 will be 600. CF6 will be 650. Okay, so let's do that. 0 for the first one, 0 for the second one, 300, 350, 0 again, 600, 650. The interest rate that we are working with here is 19%. I just think that's the other important thing. The interest rate is 19%. So now let's hope, if I say net present value, okay, so I can't say net present value because I'm looking for future value. Okay, so is there a way I can get a future value from there? Not likely. Okay, so for the future value, I can't use that process because net present value, as it says in the name, it is present value. So the present value only you can work out the other one, and because it is different installments, you can't use your normal formula calculator for this. I'll check if I can see in one of the things if I can work out a future value with this. It doesn't look like it. At least we got the present value. So the present value one can link to the net present value. For future value, we still can't link it to the net present value. So I will check if there's another way that we can do it with a calculator. But at least the first one, we're able to use a calculator for. Okay. Quickly, let me get a feel of how you are feeling about this session, this chapter. You
For
can,
me,
yeah?
as for me personally, I'm struggling to wrap my head around it. Although you're trying to explain, but I think out of all the chapters, this one is giving me a problem.
Okay. Is it because of all the different formulas nearly, and which one to use when and that? Or is it just the principle of how you need to do it?
The formulas also are not as clear as when we were dealing with continuous compounding and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little
Okay. Yeah. So it is, and I think I'll check if I can from previous papers nearly get one or two examples as well, because with this one it's nearly exercise as well to nearly know what to do when it's, as you say, it's easier when you need to work out the future value and you have all the other information, because it's just simple using the calculator here. I've showed the calculator, but we're also not always 100% sure if the calculator will be able to solve a question even. So yeah, I do nearly get that it's four different ways of getting to if your investment will be profitable or not, and they can ask it in four different ways. And yeah, so okay, I'll see if I can also create nearly use that formula page to nearly guide you with a few things. So I will look at that so that before the exams you guys have that as well. But after the next two sessions, we will go through a few exam papers, so it will be good that, and I know there's always a few of these questions in the exams as well.
Thank you, sir.
The other two, we were a very small group today. I think a lot will probably look at the recordings later on.
Hello.
Yes.
There is a formula sheet for calculator in my UNISA. EL 738 and 738F. You can just download.
Okay, so is it on the My UNISA under additional resources or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that somebody does that for me. Oh wait, calculator notes. Okay, there is, who downloaded that?
I didn't check who downloaded it. I just downloaded for
Calculated.
myself.
So somebody actually just quickly did add it. So the Sharp EL738F calculator. Okay, awesome.
All right, bye.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I
So
think someone added the formula sheet on the WhatsApp group, and I added the calculator formula sheet, or the calculator also, the notes on
okay,
the calculator.
awesome. Okay, so what I would do, and maybe if the guys that I now add after that was posted, I would just basically repost it for you. So don't worry that it won't. I will just repost it. Okay, cool. Anything else, guys?
I'll have a look at this specific session again after I understand the calculator, because that is the most frustrating part, is you understand the theory, but you can't place it on the calculator.
Yeah, and I think that is why it's nearly why I want nearly to show the two together in a sense, because that is in the exam you nearly need to understand when to use what. Luckily with the exam you have the notes available, and you will have the formula sheets available, and those kind of things, but again you're limited for time. But yeah, so that's why I nearly want to do both together, so when you practice again later on and go through it again, it's nearly okay, but let's look at the easier way to get to this. Cool. So that is then it for today. We will next week we will go on with session 6, the part that for me is the most difficult. So next week the bonds, those things are for me a bit more difficult. So the other things are, yeah, it's interesting, and the bonds are for me more difficult, and then the data handling I love because that's stats. So but we'll do session 6 next week. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a great evening, guys, and
Okay, thank
yes,
you, sir.
Bye.
I'll add everyone to the groups,
Yes,
and
sir.
yeah, we'll take it from there. Great. Have
Thank
a
you.
good evening, guys. Cheers. Oh, let's stop the recording as well.